they didn't show anything that had to do with sleep paralysis. Now, not saying that it couldn't be something transitioning from a dead sleep to REM to just waking up. What's really strange is when my daughter got older, she had a nightmare. That's what she called it. And I, out of curiosity, well, what happened? And she described that lady, with the black, long, stringy hair, and it said to her, "Your turn."
Welcome to Creepalachia. It's time to talk some creepy writing. In the hills, we have the author of The Haunting of Shoals Hollow. You say holler or hollow? Which are you?
It's hollow, but in West Virginia, of course, we pronounce it holler.
Oh, we gotta say holler.
Yes, we gotta say holler.
That would be a sin to say hollow.
Yes.
In this studio. So, Josh Clark, you are an author from Clendenin. Thank you for coming to the studio.
I'm glad to be here. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, man. So, how'd you get into writing? Tell me that first.
Well, I've dabbled into writing off and on since probably junior high, and I thought, within the past year, I thought, why not just give it a shot? Why not just write a manuscript and get it out there?
Yeah, awesome. And so what do you have a process for this? Like, how did you start piecing this book together before we give an overview of what it's about?
Sure. So I started from the very beginning of when I started to have some weird experiences. And so I started there and I branched it off until we moved into the farm. And
so would this be considered like fiction or nonfiction? I mean, is it kind of like drawn from your personal experiences? It's
drawn from my personal experiences, but I've turned it into fiction, changed the names of the family members. But a lot of the stuff in the book is actual occurrences that have happened to myself and my family.
Oh, cool. Well, I say cool. I don't know if you say cool there, but
no, it is pretty cool.
Okay. Well, let's get into those first. So, when did creepy stuff start happening here? When did you move in?
We moved in 2023. However, I've had personal experiences to the nature of what's in this book since my early 20s. Which was around, I lost my math.
How old are you?
38.
38. So mental math tells me 16 years ago. So we talking like 2009-ish?
Yeah, 2009.
Somewhere there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened exactly?
So, and there is this apparition that comes that it's a female with a white tattered gown, long black stringy hair, no eyes, just black voids. Doesn't say anything. Just when I'm laying in bed and I'm coming to, it's right there, nose to nose.
Oh, nice. This happened to you?
Yes, and it's happened several times since my early 20s.
Do you suffer from sleep paralysis or anything like that, or
not that I'm aware of? They did do a sleep study, and that is a good point. There is this apparition that's associated with sleep apnea or sleep paralysis, and they call it the hag. Mm-hmm. But I did do a sleep study, and I don't have sleep apnea, and they didn't show anything that had to do with sleep paralysis. Now, not saying that it couldn't be something transitioning from a dead sleep to REM to just waking up. But what's really strange is when my daughter got older, she had a nightmare. That's what she called it. And I, out of curiosity, well, what happened? And she described that lady, with the black, long, stringy hair, and it said to her, "Your turn." So it's a little strange that and she explained her to a T, just as I did. The tattered white gown, the black eyes, void of eyes, the elongated grin, the just everything to a T. The pale face, the gray complexion. And so I was like, well, this is strange, because for years I chalked it up to maybe it's a byproduct of stress or anxiety or things like that. But when she described this and it said to her, your turn, that's what really got my goosebumps going.
Maybe she's just trying to play Uno. She's like, come on, let's go. That's what me and my daughter play all times. Uno.
Yeah.
But okay. So there's multiple instances of, now two people in the house seeing the same hag.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Did you is there any backstory to the house or is this just random? I'm wondering what the history is of the place.
So I've seen this apparition, since my early 20s. So it just seemed to pick up when we moved to this house. Now, as far as I know, there's no history to the house or the farm that we're on. But how interesting would it be? And, we're in the Appalachian Mountains. The Appalachian Mountains are older than the rings of Saturn. So what is to suggest that there's nothing out there? But it just seemed to intensify when we moved to the farm. That's when she started seeing it. And that's when I started seeing this apparition more often. And so it's just strange that both of us have seen it, and I had never talked to her about it before. So when she described it to me, I was like, holy crap, this is something that we've both seen. I haven't talked to her about it, and so this is strange.
Oh yeah, that's odd coincidences there. Older than the rings of Saturn, is that true?
That is true.
That's fun.
It is.
How do they know that? Are they just like, which I know, over time, mountains were formed by erosion, from my understanding, over time, over millions and millions of years. So I guess it makes sense, but that's a cool fact. All right. So unknown hag, is she the only paranormal resident, or is there other things that have been going on?
So here's where it gets even stranger, but kind of in a good way, is my daughter. I haven't seen it, but my daughter, both my wife and daughter have seen the Hatman. I don't know if you ever heard of the Hatman.
Oh yeah. So the reason I asked about sleep paralysis, there's a regular sighting of this shadowy figure with like this Heisenberg looking brim hat. I don't know if you watch Breaking Bad, but
yes.
But yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly it. So I haven't seen him, but my wife and my daughter has. And when they see him, they're not scared. It kind of comes off as like a good entity, and kind of like the protector. And so that's just very strange that it comes after the hag does. So it's almost like they're to say, hey, I'm here for protection. At least that's my take on it. Sure. And that's what I incorporated into a book. There's a whole chapter on the Hatman and how it, gets in between the hag and us to, just say, hey, I'm here. And yeah.
This is fun. Well, so what's the overall description of the book? Like, for someone, give us a few sentences on why someone needs to read this. Because I'm a big Haunted of Hill House fan, and I'm kind of getting some vibes there, like an Appalachian version.
Yes,
maybe.
Absolutely.
So yeah, is Shoals Hollow a real thing? I think I've heard that before.
Well, we live in Queen Shoals, which is right outside of Clendenin. So I just incorporated Shoals into the name, and we're holler people, so I put hollow in there. But you're right, it's
I mean, if you put holler in there, a majority of the world would be like, what? Like, what's yelling? But people get it. We know the spelling's OW, but it's ER, okay? So that's how we say it around here. But so you incorporated your community. Is it a man and a wife and an only child, or what's?
Yeah, so it's Foster, Georgia, and Lizzie, which is me, my wife, and my daughter. And so it tells a story of how we live in a kind of a rundown area, and we're looking for something like an escape, an oasis. So when we're in a position that we could move, my wife wants a farm. She talks me into it, and I'm saying, that's a lot of work. And so she talks me into it, and Foster, Georgia, and Lizzie moved to this farm, and it's just beautiful, and it's their serenity, and they get cows and chickens, and then the neighbors are fantastic, and they pitch in and help get the place up and running, and even sell us some cows, which was what had happened. But then,
is this like really what happened?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
yes.
gotcha.
Yeah. So, and their names were changed as well to fictional characters. And after they bought cows and got settled in, they finally felt peace. But then that peace was interrupted by the hag.
As it usually is. Makes sense. So, so your background, was you a farmer before y'all moved there?
No, so neither one of us were. So we're first generation. So we're winging it. And we're learning as we go.
So is it a functional farm?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what all you do here? Like what kind of production?
So far, we're cattle and chickens. We dabbled a little bit in the growing crops but nothing to a large scale, just for our personal use for now. Just kind of getting our feet wet because neither one of us have done it. So we're just learning as we go. We're winging it. And so just for now, cows and chickens. We have huge plans for sheep, goats, and to grow, but we're only 2 years in. So for now, cows and chickens.
Nice. How many acres is it?
50.
Oh, cool. So kind of set the scene of the land. Or is it like tall hills on both sides of this land? Is a lot of it woodland area, or is it generally farmland?
So I would say there's about 15 acres of pasture, and the rest of it is wooded. So it is, the Appalachian Mountains run straight through. So there's mountains on both sides of it, and then there's a valley where there's some pasture land, but the majority of it is wooded.
Nice. So it is a holler.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. And what have you learned? Like, what's the toughest thing about starting a farm was it working before you all moved there and you kind of took it over, or did you have to get some things in line?
We got pretty lucky. There were already barns in place, so we didn't have to build any structures or anything like that. There was a horse barn, cow barn, pig barn, everything, and it was all fenced in. So we got lucky there. I think the hardest part starting out is just finances, because cows and chickens and feed is it's not cheap.
Oh yeah, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
That's why you mentioned rural tractor. I don't even know the store names. Tractor Supply, or what's the one they were going to? Rural King.
Rural King.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I don't even know the name. I know they got good popcorn. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So, well, cool. How many cows and chickens we talking about?
Right now, and you're not going to believe this, but we have 60 chickens.
60 chickens. Nice.
And my wife and daughter have a name for every single one of them.
What happens when you got
Well, so the chickens that we have right now are just laying hens.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. For now, we haven't got meat chickens yet, but I'm like, hey, don't name the meat chickens. You can name the laying hens.
I was going to say it'd be a little tough when the time comes. You're like, all right, honey, get out here. You got to, saw the head off this time, which I've heard, farm life, it's just death and life constantly over and over again.
Yes.
Yeah. Do they get sick a lot?
There's been a few times that we've had sick chickens or sick cows, but of course you have your medicines that you can give them for the cows and chickens. Not all the time do they make it, but that is a part of it is sick animals, and so you just got to kind of prepare yourself for that.
Yeah. How many cows?
7.
Nice. Do you watch those hoof cleaning videos? I'm addicted to these things.
I do.
I'm just curious, do you all do that, or like?
So we do check their feet, and we haven't had to do that yet, but that is coming, I'm sure. But we do check their feet, and if they look healthy, so far we've been lucky in that retrospect, but our neighbors have been doing this for 30 plus years. So we're like, hey, when that time comes, I'm sure they'll come over and show us how to do it. But so far, we've been lucky on the hooves.
Yeah, video it, put it online. I guarantee it'll blow up because my wife especially loves watching those hoof cleaning videos.
Yes.
I mean, there's people who have their whole business. That's all they do is go to people's farms and clean, cow and horse feet and video it and make $1 billion.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. So you have neighbors that can kind of be like, hey, Josh, you kind of don't know what you're doing. You got to do this instead of that, or, different things like that.
Absolutely. Well, it really comes from, hey, can y'all help me with this? We don't know how to do it. And they drop everything and they come over and help.
That's
nice.
Nice.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's better neighbors. The ones that come over are like, it's like being at the gym when someone comes up and is like, hey, you're not benching correctly. Let me show you how to do it. It's like,
gosh.
I didn't ask you to do that.
Right.
Miss. And then they get down and show me up and, it's the whole thing. But anyway, all right, cool. So that's kind of setting the stage of the land. Tell me about the house. When was the farmhouse built?
So this is pretty crazy. There was an actual farmhouse, and we haven't been able to get records of it yet, but we're trying to get with the Clay County Courthouse to see if we can get pictures, but the farmhouse isn't there anymore. And I believe 1999, they moved a trailer onto the property, a double wide, and that's what we're living in now. But you can see remnants of the foundation of an old farmhouse, and I would love to get pictures of that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how many square feet is it? And I'm trying to get a vivid picture so I'll know exactly where the hag is floating, how many steps she takes to get to the fridge. I got to know all these
right.
things.
So, 3-bedroom, 1,800 square foot. So, not a lot of space, but it's enough for just the three of us.
Yeah, it's a nice home.
Yes.
Okay. And is there a lot of noises, or is it mainly like you don't really hear anything till you wake up one night at 2 a.m. and there she is?
Yeah, there's no noises.
Really?
It's just waking up and transitioning from, deep sleep to waking up, and there she is.
Yeah. When you got the idea for this book, and what year was that? When did you start thinking of this?
So it was last year. Yes, last year from October to I think January was the whole writing process, because it was everything that's happened so far. So it was just flowing.
Sure.
Right. So in October of last year is when I said, I should probably just try this thing out, see where it goes.
Yeah. That's cool. So what's your particular process like? Like kind of, because I know with me, with videos, I'm like, I have an idea, and then I don't stop until it comes to fruition, and it's a little, makes me a little mentally unstable sometimes, and I kind of go overboard. But do you kind of know where it's going toward the end, or do you start off and just say, well, I'll just start writing and see where it goes?
Yeah. So for this book, it was pretty easy because I knew the events ahead of time, when this happened, when that happened, so I just had to figure out how to structure it in a way that it was fiction. So changing the names and transitioning from this event to that event, and some fillers in between, just the daily life of Foster in Georgia. And so this one was pretty easy in that retrospect. The harder part was formatting it in a fictional story, because I don't have a background in fictional writing. So it was like, okay, so how do I do this? So, and it's my first book, so it's not perfect, but I do think it turned out pretty good.
Yeah. And so the characters, kind of the events, and then you fill in the gaps. Does it have kind of like a typical story arc, like, beginning, middle, end type thing, or is it more like a docudrama kind of?
So it's beginning, middle, and end. It's pretty straightforward, and this event in the beginning, and then sort of like their day to day, and then this event, and the ending, which really isn't really truly an ending because things are still happening. So I'm thinking there might just be a second one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yes.
We love sequels. So hold the cover art up around that mic so people can see. It's a really cool picture. Is this
here?
Yeah, that looks great. People can see it. Is this a real photo?
No. So my wife, she dabbles a little bit in Photoshop, and
nice.
And I have no idea
sure
what all that entails, but she designs my covers, and she actually does the book formatting, because all I know how to do is type. As far as the formatting and the pages and the book covers, no idea. So I got lucky there.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
Yes, you did a great job. Cool. So where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in St. Albans in the city. So when we moved to the farm, it just had the peace, it's night and day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, St. Albans is big city to us. Yes. Which where I'm at, it's like I'm in Pigeon Forge compared to where I grew up. And I mean that in a good way. I mean, I loved where I grew up. I grew up in McDowell County. But so, what was life like growing up? Did you have a lot of friends, or did people say, Josh is weird, he writes? This is
See, I think I had a lot of friends, because it was neighborhoods and a big city. So, kids riding their bikes, and it's like, hey, let me ride bikes with you. And so just ride through town and stuff like that. But, I found that even in rural West Virginia, there's a lot of kids too. So, my daughter has a lot of friends now, even in the setting that we're in, which, kind of astonished me that it's just this big community, even in the holler.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we say big city. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there listening. It's like from Charlotte. It's like, what are they talking about? But listen, I mean, if you start passing 20,000 population, that's a big city to me. So anyway, which I don't know what population St. Albans is. I know Charleston's pretty high, but all right. So was you like a real creative kid, or into reading or anything like that growing up?
So when I was little, my mom watched scary movies all the time. And so I would, even when I was little, I would sneak into the edge of the hallway where she couldn't see me, and I would watch these scary movies. And I always kind of had a fascination with horror movies and ghost and spooky stuff. So, and as far as creative goes, I always used to just write things down and say, oh, this would be spooky, right? And ghost, and just thinking about all that kind of stuff. It just kind of, where it scares most people, I think it just fascinates me.
Sure, yeah. What kind of movies we talking? Because I saw it when I was like 4, and it traumatized me in the best way.
Yes. So my mom is a big Stephen King fan, so it was those type movies. I'm not really a teach their own, but I'm not a huge fan of slasher movies. I'm more of like the hauntings and the cryptids and things like that. But yeah, I've always been
Lost Boys fan.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yes. Lost Boys is good. And some of the original, which is the first slasher pretty much, but Halloween, when I'd walk by the VHS tape, it would just scare me to even walk by the thing. It used to terrify me. And some of the stuff, it's not the most rewatchable thing. Like it, especially. You watch it now, I'm going to sit down with my daughter and watch it and see what she thinks. I don't, because we've been going through The Walking Dead. I just think she's going to think it's a little silly. Because if you watch it now, not the new It,
right?
It's terrifying,
right?
But I'm anxious to see how that goes. But yeah, so did y'all go to the movies a lot, or did your parents like kind of try to censor it out of your life, or were they like, watch whatever, Josh, get out of my face?
Well, if I was caught, she would definitely send me back to my room because I think they would be like, well, you're too young to be watching this kind of stuff. So they were like, hey, go over here and we'll watch scary movies.
Sure, yeah.
And so, yeah, they would have sent me to my room.
Yeah, I did a video on turmoil in the toy box, and it was this thing, which, religion's great. Whoever uses it in a productive way, it's great. But this was a thing where basically, like, if you were watching or you had these certain toys, you were going to go to hell. So it's like they kind of take things away. And, It was a big thing in the 90s, which I think it's still a thing. But anyway.
Well, they weren't that, my parents weren't, that shelter or, overly religious or anything like that, but they probably didn't want me watching scary movies because I would have nightmares.
Sure, yeah. That makes sense. That's probably what I should think more about, because we'll be sitting there watching a Walking Dead episode, and I'm like, Nora, am I traumatizing you right now? I'm just asking, like, is this? And she's like, no, I know it's not real, Dad. Shut up. I'm like, all right.
That sounds like my daughter.
Yeah. So, she's she got her mommy's brain, thankfully. She's super smart and funny, and but we have a good time. But all right, so growing up, did you go to college or anything, or like what was the first? Is the farm a full-time thing?
Yes, so it's my second full-time job. So I got 2 full-time jobs.
Nice. Heck yeah. So what do you do for a living? Which you don't have to say where you work, but I'm just curious.
So I've always had the type of jobs that are security oriented. I worked a little while in corrections, 5 years in corrections. And then I decided to, kind of scale it down a little bit. And so just anything security oriented.
Nice. Would you believe I was a security guard at one point in time?
I believe it.
Yeah. I sat around and made sure massively large pieces of equipment didn't turn into transformers and walk away. That's pretty much all I did.
That's my kind of job.
Yeah. So I remember there's a mountain in. Do you know much about McDowell?
Not a whole lot.
Okay, well, there's a mountain. It's I think the hollers have numbers, and one was 39 outside of Keystone, and I was there all the time, and I'd always get caught sleeping by my supervisor, and it was a whole thing. But then you got to watch because you don't want to fall asleep and have an exhaust leak, and then you don't wake up, and it's a whole thing. And then in the winter, you just like bring a blanket and try not to die. Like that was, just what we did. And then I would be there for 12 hours and I'd get out, walk around, be done in about 5 minutes, come back, watch the entire Godfather trilogy every night.
That's the best.
and then go walk around. Takes 5 minutes and then there would be 7 hours left. And I'd be like, what am I going to do? But yeah, it was a good time. So is that kind of like, are you like walking a beat, or is it kind of like you go to construction sites and watch the copper for the evening, or?
So it's a beat, and instead of walking, we have a little truck that we drive around the plant, and just kind of looking around and just making sure. And there's a safety element to it as well. We're required to also have our EMT certification. So if anything happens, we can respond and get them to the hospital as quickly as we can.
Oh, cool. You ever ran into some situations?
Not yet. And hopefully I don't.
I'll tell you my plan, and I don't want to get you in trouble, but I always thought at least where I was like, if anyone ever comes to steal anything, I'm going to step out of the way and say, I'm going to close my eyes now. and then and then they can walk away, and then I'll tell authorities after the fact. I was like,
Yes.
I'm not going to like play quick draw McGraw. Well, for one, the thing I had, we couldn't have weapons.
Yeah, we don't have weapons, and if something like that is happening, they tell us just to call the law.
Yeah, perfect.
And so we can't really intervene. We're just eyes and scribes.
Yeah, yeah. I'd have been a terrible hire. I remember we went to the omelet spot in Princeton, and they have a security guard that they would rent at night after the clubs let out. And you talk about the craziest situations. Was the omelet spot at 3 a.m. in Princeton. And I know there's someone listening that knows exactly what what I'm talking about. We went there one night, 4 fights broke out, one right after another. I'm sitting there. These people are in fisticuffs, rolling around the floor, acting all crazy. And I'm sitting there. I weighed like 110 pounds. I was like, I ain't fighting nobody. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then I look, and there's this girl. It's like, oh, Cindy, you biatch, stuff like that. And then she grabs this stapler, and she's like, take this, slings it across the freaking omelet spot. And I see it fly up in the air. And I see this one guy who's like 7 foot tall, way in the back of the bar area of this place, which it burnt down. It's Dolly's now, but that stapler cracks him right in the forehead. And I was like, yeah, this is a 9 out of 10 Yelp experience for our first time.
It is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, but I always, which all that being said, that I don't know if they do that anymore. I don't know if they stay open that late, but yeah, the security guard never had a good evening at that place.
Oh, I guarantee that.
But that's not, I mean, like, we're watching equipment, and that's good. They provide you a truck. You got a fancy employer. We didn't have, he's like, bring your car, use your gas. Here's $5 an hour. Good luck is basically what they told us. Yeah. And they paid mostly every other week. But security is very, very important. So the one I had was not. But yeah. So, all right. Corrections, that had to have been interesting. I have a lot of friends that went into that.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. So what was that like?
So for a year, I did regional, and that was pretty tough. And so then I transitioned to a work release and did temporary duties at different regionals, Western Regional. And then we were mandated to do temporary duty at Mount Olive. So I was at Mount Olive for about a year, and that was pretty interesting as well.
Is that where did Whitey Bulger go? I think he went to starts with a H. Shoot. Hey.
Huttonsville.
Oh man, there's something like that. Yeah. I'm gonna have to look this up. It's where Natalie Cochran is. Daggone it. Federal. Was it federal or state where you were at?
State.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Okay. It auto-corrected federal prison inmate search. No, federal prison WV. Hazleton.
Okay.
That's where I'm talking about. So that's where Natalie Cochran is. Hope she's enjoying her Doritos and Parcheesi. So what's the training for that like? Like, what kind of qualifications does it take to be a CO?
So I think in order to be a correctional officer, you have to have a pulse and no felonies. And so as long as you're good with that, and you go through a 3-month
some type of training or like CPR, or do you need any kind of like, do they teach you how to use a taser or anything? Or
yeah, so there's taser training and your pepper ball.
Pepper ball, what's that?
So it's like a paintball gun, and instead of a paintball, it's a pepper ball that has oleoresin capsation in it. So when it hits, instead of spraying paint on you, it has that OC dust that comes and you breathe it in.
Nice.
And that's supposed to deter you from, you're like, wait a minute, I can't breathe. I'm going to stop what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's better than getting shot.
Yes.
Yeah, and then rubber bullets. I don't know if those are a thing. All right, so they train you in that. Do you got to do anything like get tased or anything like that, or?
So they quit doing exposures. So when you go in for your taser qualification, you just shoot at they teach you about the taser first and how to operate it and how to test it and how to put the cartridges in and that sort of thing. And then they have you shoot at a cardboard target.
Okay, so they quit actually showing you what it feels like?
Yes, at least on the corrections side they have. I think law enforcement is still required to have exposures, but in corrections we just shoot at a cardboard target and you're qualified.
Gotcha. So what's the shifts like as a CO? Like, was he on night shift or? I think I would want to work night shift.
Yes.
That's just my guess because everyone's asleep, but I don't know.
What you would think.
You would think.
So night shift. So they're 12-hour shifts and, you have a day shift and a night shift. Now, a lot of times your 12-hour turns into a 16-hour just because it's so short-staffed. So normally, I mean, you would think everybody would be asleep, but they're out hooting and hollering, unless it's a.
So you was on both shifts?
Yeah, I've done both shifts before. Day shift is my favorite because there's a lot going on. You got med pass, so you're constantly moving, and since inmates typically stay up all night, then a lot of them are sleeping during the day and.
Yeah,
you got a lot of things to keep you busy, so the shift does go by pretty quick, and night shift just kind of drags on a little bit.
Sure. Did you enjoy it?
I did. I did for the most part. Yeah.
Did fights break out regularly, or were things pretty serene most of the time, or?
So it was hit or miss. A lot of times they don't want to lose their privileges. Like their Xbox or their TV, or they don't want to go to segregation to be locked in their cell for 24 hours a day. So for the most part, it's kind of calm, but you do have those moments where fights break out and shit hits the fan.
Sure.
But I mean, it had its moments.
Yeah. I have several friends who have either done it, still do it, or don't do it anymore. So that's interesting. Why did you decide to leave?
So I wanted something a little bit calmer, and not as many hours since I do have a family. Because a lot of times you were doing 16-hour shifts, and we had bought the farm, and that was taking up a lot of time. So I wanted something, that wasn't 5/16s. So I kind of just left corrections. Now I do miss it. There were a lot of elements to it. The correction officer standing to your left and to your right, your buddies, and they have your back. And so, that part I do miss, the camaraderie.
Mm-hmm. 5/16s.
Yes.
Goodness gracious.
Yes.
Forget that. Oh, is it like 8 on call, or is it like you're there 16 hours?
16 hours.
Goodness gracious.
Yes.
How do you even have a life doing that?
You don't at that point, because on your days off, if you get 2 days off, you're sleeping most of the time because you're so exhausted.
Yeah. Did you ever find a shank?
I didn't find a shank. I found alcohol.
Did you drink it?
No.
It's probably
because
nasty.
That was rotten fruit, pretty much just fermented for a while. It did smell pretty bad. So I'm all about wine, but anything that's made in a trash bag of just pure rotten fruit, I don't want any part of that.
And talk about desperate. But that's It's very intuitive, though. The way they make tattoos, I've watched this, how they make soot and they scrape the soot off to make ink. So they'll light like a candle inside like a metal container, and then it'll create soot on the roof. They scrape the soot out, and they use that as tattoo ink.
Yes.
I'm like, man, that's pretty incredible. I'd just let them do it. I'd be like, yeah, go ahead. I mean, that's a lot of work. Might as well give each other tattoos.
I did find a couple tattoo guns.
Did you?
Yes.
What are they made out of?
So they'll take little mechanisms out of a tape deck and rubber bands and a empty pen. They'll take the ink out of an ink pen and they'll use that. So just anything that with a little,
like a battery.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Needle.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't really know how to describe it, but anything.
Which I know they have little batteries, and then it just it rattles this thing. I mean, they don't look like the most safest ways to give a tattoo ever, but it works. Seems to work pretty good.
Right.
That's cool. All right. So you leave there, you go to security, right? And then you bought the farm, and now there's a whole new schedule for the day. Like, what's a typical week like at the household in Shoals? Like, do you get up super early or?
Yeah, so my days off, I get up super early. Now, about 5 days a week when I'm at work, my wife and daughter, they are absolute beasts. They get up and do everything when I'm at work. Now, when I'm off work, all three of us are out there. And so neither one of them are afraid of getting dirty and sweat equity. And they're just absolute beasts.
That's awesome. They cut the grass?
Yeah, they do help cut the grass and weed eat and all that.
So. As I get older, I have appreciation for a well manicured yard. It's weird. Like, I used to hate it, but now I'm like, oh, it looks kind of nice. Smells good. Of course, yours just has cows taking dumps everywhere. So, I imagine you just let that go.
Yeah, because I mean it's free fertilizer,
and they eat the grass, right?
Yes,
is that how it works? Okay.
Yeah. Now we have a portion of our house that we still have to mow, and that's fenced in, and that's our yard, and I do like that to look pretty nice. But for the rest of it, the cows take care of that.
Got any billy goats?
Not yet.
You planning on it?
We do plan to get sheep and goats.
I hear like if you leave a pop can around, they'll eat the pop can. I don't know if that's true, but
I wouldn't put it past them. I've heard that they just will eat anything and everything, and you got to kind of watch.
Yeah, I got a real good buddy that has, he had alpacas, and they were pretty cool, but he'd have to like shear them every now and then, and he didn't really have a farm, but even just with the little bit he had, he was like, man, it's so much work. It's just stuff dies, and then it's
a lot of work.
Yeah, you just got to work all the time. Any sheep dogs or any dogs running around the farm?
We do. We are getting a livestock guardian dog, which is an Akbash. We're supposed to pick that up next week, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it'll be trained to, because when you're living out on a farm, you got to worry about foxes, coyotes, and, anything that'll try to come after your. Well, they're not going to try to come after a cow, maybe a calf, but you got to worry about your chickens, your goats, your sheep, coyotes, and foxes. And so one of the best ways to combat that is a livestock guardian dog.
Yeah, nice. And there's black panthers in the hills. You got to watch them. I don't know. Have you seen? I mean, what do you think?
I haven't seen one, but they say that there are no mountain lions, but I'm sorry, but there's mountain lions in West Virginia.
I've heard some loud things.
Yes.
That's all I know. This one time I was like, man, that's not normal. That's something. But hey, in the world of technology, I am surprised there hasn't been documented evidence yet, but one day.
Yes, one day.
Yeah, we'll get there. All right. So, give me some theories here. Who is this hag? Who's this hat man? Why are they messing with you? What do you think?
I'm not sure. and it could be a byproduct of sleep paralysis or stress, anxiety, things like that. But I just find it real odd that it came to my daughter and it said, your turn.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I'm going to haunt you now. You're not safe. But I don't know why. And you hear people talk about it, that other people that have seen it, it's all over the internet and it's this big phenomenon, but I cannot tell you why it's
Sure.
come to us.
It's kind of like you got a winning lottery ticket. It's like, all right, you have made contact. This is awesome.
Yes.
And being in around Clendenin, was you all there when the flood happened in 2016?
We was not there.
You was not. Okay.
No.
Yeah. There's a big flood that happened and I filmed a wedding there. I was telling you. But yeah, 2016, there's a really bad flood there. All right. So I'm going to give a read of the description for the folks out there on the Haunting of Shoals Hollow. So in the quiet, remote farming community of Shoals Hollow, nestled deep in the Appalachian Mountains, Foster, his wife Georgia, and their daughter Lizzie thought they had found the perfect escape from the chaos of modern life. But the haunting shadows of the past and the unsettling presence of something ancient and dark lurk just beyond their peaceful surroundings. As strange occurrences begin to unravel their sense of security, Foster must confront not only the demons of his own trauma, but also the malevolent force that plagues the land. With the help of neighbors and spiritual leaders, Foster and his family fight to rid their home of relentless spirits. This chilling thriller, inspired by true events, explores the terrifying power of the supernatural, the bond of family, and the strength it takes to heal. Will Foster and his family break free from the horrors of Shoals Hollow, or will they become the next victims of its haunting curse? Are you sure this isn't a subconscious way of you saying like, hey y'all, I don't like farming? It's like just me telling you that right now. It's subconsciously, this is tough. I love the description of it. It sounds great. And I read a couple pages and it's very, very good. So great work. And
thank you.
Highly suggest people check it out. You can buy it on Amazon. Is there anywhere else you have like Audible versions or?
Yeah, so we just released a Audible version of it, and the guy did fantastic. He also put some ambient sounds in there, so if there was any build up for a spooky part, it would just be these ambient sounds and things, and even some pretty quirky sounds as well. When we start unloading cows, he put cows mooing, and it was just phenomenal how he did it.
Oh dude, that's awesome. That's like a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out, because I'll be honest, I don't read a lot. I try to, and then I don't.
That's easier for an audiobook. It's much easier.
Yeah, because I'm always trying to hands-on do something, or like cutting grass or whatever. Usually making some type of shirt or design, and that'll be great to listen to. Well, cool, Josh. What's the plans? What's future plans? You thinking of a part 2 next, or got any other ideas cooking?
Yeah, so I'm thinking about a part 2 because there's been we continue to see this thing. My daughter continues to see it. So I'm thinking of a part 2. I really am.
Awesome. Spiritual leaders, do you have some priests you can call on and be like, hey, the hag's back? Can you like, come on, Skippy?
Yeah. So I don't just yet. I would like to try to find somebody that, can bless the home, or I'm kind of apprehensive about going to a preacher or a priest and saying, hey, this is what happened. I don't know if they're going to look at me and tell me I'm crazy, or ask me if I'm part of the cult or something,
Sure.
So, I'm a little bit hesitant on talking to any priest or anything just yet, but that would be pretty nice to have somebody to come out and.
Well, we got both sides of the spectrum here. We have I Am Psychic Michael, who's been on. He's a Christian representative who talks to the dead. Highly awesome dude. Very cool. He's about 7 foot tall. The hag would be really scared of this person. But he's a sweetheart of a person, but he is like 7 foot tall. And then we got Dottie the Witch on the pagan side of things. If you want to holler at her, she's actually right in the neighborhood of where you're at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we just done an episode with her. But she may be able to help if that's the case. But yeah, I mean, people are pretty open to this. They're like, yeah, I believe in the devil. It probably exists, and I'll be there. Yeah, we'll throw some stuff around, say some prayers, and get it going.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be a good time.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thanks for coming in, Josh. Everyone out there listening, be sure to get the Haunting of Shoals Hollow, spelt hollow for you city folk. And everyone else, be sure to like this video, subscribe to Creepalachia before you leave. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, take a minute to leave a review. That will help the show be found. And we are on Facebook and TikTok. And also, we have merch. We got merch. Be sure to go to creepalachia.shop if you need a shirt. And last but not least, everyone remember, above all else, long live Appalachia.